All right, we've been a bit away from the Marvel Universe outside of a revisiting of Blade, but since the next technically MCU movie that is on our list will have to be Guardians of the Galaxy, if I recall correctly, there is
Yes.
one, not even elephant, volatile in the room that we need to actually address because up until that point, the character in question was seen in a bit of a negative light because of today's subject. He's a duck that walks like a man, and he was trapped in a world he never made. At least that's what the tagline says. In the beginning, as the boss of the movie says, there was Howard the Duck, a movie released in
Oh
1986.
Lord.
There is a lot that can be said about the production of the movie and the character, so I will try to be very brief just to give a context about who Howard was and why did he get a movie, because this movie has the distinction of being the first theatrical international release adaptation of a Marvel comic character. And up until Blade at the end of the 90s, all the others were directed to video stuff. So Doctor Strange got a TV special, Captain America got free TV special, The Punisher got a TV movie, Spider Man only got series. It was insane.
I had no idea because I've heard of this movie, but like this being a Marvel thing is news to me.
Oh, it gets
Wait,
even
you
better.
didn't know? Oh
No,
boy.
I didn't.
This is basically part of the background for us to understand a bit better some of the pieces on the board that will arrive later in the MCU, for those who don't know. Also, just to cover our asses, because by the time we're recording this, the next Avengers Duology movie hasn't been released, but since it's all about the multiverse, who the fuck knows if this version of our will show up or not.
I
But
was actually
anyway.
going to say, as crazy as things have been, a lot of people have floated the ideas that we'll see older versions of characters in that upcoming duology. This is like one of the few that almost no one speculates on because most people think Marvel would be mad as hell to bring back this version of the character. Though, I'll admit, if I'm getting a bit ahead of myself, I don't think it's so much the character that's the problem, it's the movie
Yes,
surrounding him.
just to mention about the character first appeared in a single issue story called Adventure into Fear number 19, released at the end of 1973, so right as the Bronze Age was starting, and was written as a supporting character for Man-Thing, because Adventure into Fear was an anthology that talked about strange stories, like involved, for example, a character in Morbius, the living vampire. And in that story, Man-Thing had to team up with a bunch of pastiche characters from, famous archetypes. And Howard was, of course, a parody of Donald Duck, except, it was more crass, always talking shit. His literal first introduction is him being racist against mankind as a whole by calling us, quote unquote, a bunch of hairless apes, and smoking constantly a cigar. Notably, Marvel has understandably gone back with a couple of trouble with the Disney company back then, to the point where many people joked that the actual buyout in the mid 2000s was because, Disney wanted to cut the shit at the root and own the character so they wouldn't have to actually make more lawsuits.
A
Anyway,
revenge scheme over half a century in the making.
author Steve Gerber, which was a bit of a character in his own right, constantly being litigious against people like Stan Lee, liked the character so much that in 1975 launched his own solo run, and the timing could not have been perfect because the Bronze Age has been swinging in full force. For those who don't know, up until that point, superhero stories had been more wacky, more zany. You think of the classic Superman stops, something by juggling planets on his pinky toes and everything. But in 1973, Gwen Stacy died, and many people consider that the turning point where comic books started to be more serious about social issues, stuff like that was happening around the time, like the usage of drugs and the danger that represented in the youth, for example. And Howard was all into that. All of his early runs are all about analyzing the bizarreness of the low levels of society and how strange the Marvel universe is from his perspective, and encountering very absurd stories. Not everything has aged golden, but I argue the original run is still great, I have to say. But we're not here
Mhm.
for that. One big fan of the comic run was George Lucas. So he actually started to campaign for actually making an adaptation of this relatively early on. And it took up until the mid-80s to actually, properly film it and complete it. And unfortunately, originally it was supposed to be an animated movie, which kind of makes sense. Howard is the kind of character that will need something more like Fritz the Cat, an animated movie, done by someone like Ralph Bakshi. But unfortunately, George Lucas' contract involved only live action, and Universal had acquired the rights to a movie thanks to a deal with Marvel, and Industrial Light and Magic had secured their position to make the special effects. So theoretically, everything should have been fine. But something along the line fucked up, and the end result was such a bizarre and stupid movie that nobody understand what to do on the matter, and not many people even went to see it because on a budget of 37 million, it only recouped 37.9. It was also lambasted at the Golden Raspberry Awards that year, winning a bunch of awards that I will explain more later, because now it's properly time to get into these not even turkey, properly duck. So, start before the black screen, right before the Universal logo. As far as I understand, it has been kept since, even for future releases. This movie is not on Disney Plus, as far as I know yet. Who knows? Maybe with the
Oh,
Universal deal, it might actually show up at some point.
what, Disney? You don't want to put this originally PG-rated, family-friendly comedy
With
on
tits,
Disney Plus?
Yeah, I'm getting a bit ahead of
Well,
myself.
I was saving that for the surprise, but yeah.
All right. Again, start on the black screen right before the Universal logo. In 3, 2, 1, click.
Hey, Shiroi.
Yes?
Want me to blow your mind? This allegedly could have been the actual start of a Marvel Cinematic Universe, believe it or not. George Lucas was treating this
Weird.
as his most important project. So important that he stepped down as president of Lucasfilm to focus on producing films like Howard the Duck, essentially.
Also, cute 2 moons because Tatooine in Star Wars. Clap, please.
Also, don't worry, audience. Jova means tits like birds.
Oh, of course, boobies.
Yes, of course. Morons, those kinds of boobs. So, of course, our story starts in New York City, just as we would expect a Marvel
But
story
Robot,
to,
there were 2
right?
moons. It couldn't be right. This is
I
like this is the
wonder.
polar opposite of a Sonic universe.
That's true. Something might be a little bit off. Yep, it turns out we're in a world populated by ducks.
And get used to duck puns, which, to be fair, were a thing in the comic. Again, on all of aspects, this movie is fairly accurate to the source material. I don't think that people found particularly stupid, like the duck puns or Howard knowing Quack Fu. Those are things for the comics. The problem is that they're usually not put without that much context. So
It's just for the sake of it, I guess.
possibly,
Okay,
but also Breeders of the Lost Stork. Ha!
I mean, look, it's a Lucasfilm production. Checks in the mail.
I wonder if that movie that he made, the first, like, the robot one with, I forgot the name, like 1338 or something, gets referenced or not.
Now, since George Lucas's fingerprints are so prominent on this, a lot of people tend to forget he technically wasn't even the director for this. That was actually a man by the name of Willard Yuck. No, seriously, his last name is Yuck.
Yeah.
Make all the goofy jokes that you want to. Now, Yuck had actually done screenplays with Lucas before, like American Graffiti, Lucky Lady, Indiana Jones, and the Temple of Doom.
Lucas originally wanted to recommend John Landis, and I argue for live action adaptation he probably would have worked out better because his specialty was about the more raunchy side of humanity, so this would have been perfect for him. But unfortunately, he was busy doing something else, if I recall correctly. Worth noting also that Steve Gerber himself was actually in for the project, which considering his attitude, it was kind of weird, because normally he would be the guy that hates this kind of thing. But surprisingly, he was on board and even decided to skip working on a specific comic book in order to actually get to the last day of shooting.
Yeah, one thing to keep in mind, Lucas is a man of charisma. And part of that charisma made it so that he was in touch with a lot of actors with dwarfism, since he provided a lot of jobs for them in the Star Wars series. Which, case in point, has our main actor here, Ed Gale, who plays Howard the Duck, which, give him credit, that's a full suit and everything.
Again, not light and magic.
I have a better way to phrase it, actually. As far as the puns go, like, how cringe are they on a scale from fine to egg's husband?
Play Duck.
How about, showcasing adult-oriented material in a movie aimed mostly at a younger crowd?
Yeah,
Oh,
remember,
gross.
this was rated PG.
Now, again, to be fair, this is in line with the run. Howard the Duck was actually meant to be a comic book for late teen, early adults. Again, poking fun at the absurdities of people and the exploitation of the media industry at the time. So having the movie be more whimsical really would not make it work.
Must have been
Hi.
the wind.
Bye. Also,
And yes, there they are. Those are legit duck breasts.
how did
I'm
they get
guessing-
away with that?
Why are
I'm
they
guessing-
so round?
Okay, to answer Teos' question, I'm guessing the reason they got away with it is because the nipple area looks somewhat painted.
Yeah,
Like-
sure, let's go with that. Anyway, just to mention, in the original run, the general running gag is that Howard was transported from his universe to the 616 from Marvel.
Get it? Their Earth is shaped like an egg.
It's funny, shut up. It was transported via something that was never explained, and he has never been able to return home since. In here, they actually try to give an explanation, also courtesy of this narrator. I don't know who that's supposed to be. Watu the Watcher? I don't know.
God or something.
That would be funny, but okay, the movie credits it as the Cosmos, played by Richard Kiley.
Oh, so Eternity, I guess. That's the closest.
I want to
Cool.
be fair.
Why did he say that so triumphantly?
Well,
It's the title,
I think,
you gotta.
to be fair, I feel like that's kind of a comic book in a nutshell to take even the most serious things seriously. Like, I want to be fair. I feel like this movie does get in its depths a lot of the ideas of the concept of bringing a comic book, particularly Howard the Duck to life, essentially.
So because unfortunately this is a starting point for Howard and for us for a movie universe, this is still considered quote unquote a real world, so there are no superheroes around. So for all intents and purposes, Howard has been reverse isekai'd to the quote unquote real world, and worst of all, in Cleveland during the Jimmy Carter years. Please contain your fear.
It's a duck, guys. Ever wanted to stuff a turkey?
Again, I will say that the duck suit for Howard works pretty fine, especially for the time. It boggles my mind that one of the Razzie Awards that this was nominated and won for was the visual effects for Industrial Light and Magic. Yes, there will be bad special effects later on, but it's not the end of the world for the movie. Then again, that year, the other competitors for that category were Invaders from Mars, which I haven't seen, so I cannot judge. But the other was King Kong Lives, the 1986 King Kong movie where the special effects were done by Carlo Rambaldi. And I really, really disagree on that choice. So you know what, John, the creator of Razzies? Really, you never had quality control on your product, didn't you?
Also, hey, Leah Thompson.
Yeah, Leah Thompson was an actress chosen specifically by George Lucas for this movie because he was actually impressed with her role in Back to the Future. which, to be fair, I kind of get it. Ow. Also, that haircut, I get it when it was the 80s, but holy shit.
I was gonna say, welcome to the 80s.
It's like I'm watching one of those bad episodes from Murder, She Wrote.
Also, I do find it weird. Well, okay. To be fair, the Howard the Duck comics actually did take place in Cleveland, but
Yes.
I'll admit, as a Marvel Comics fan, I'm programmed to automatically assume that any big city setting has to be New York because that's where most of the action happens.
Later on, Howard decided to take an office for, as private investigator, if I recall correctly, in New York, close to where She-Hulk operated.
Comedic characters gotta stick together.
But to be fair, the choice of Cleveland as a city was from Steve Gerber himself. He wanted to use a city that wasn't used that much for the Marvel Universe, so he wouldn't impact too much what was happening at the time. And as a result, something that would be perfect to, talk about the exploitation and social commentary, which, as for the stories that I heard about Cleveland, really makes it sound, the perfect kind of place close to Detroit.
Oh god, have you heard about the time that their rivers caught fire multiple times? And the balloon incident. Jesus Christ, the balloon incident.
So
right.
Leah Thompson plays the role of Beverly, which was actually one of the first humans that even in the comic Howard met. Also,
just so she can handle herself in a fight. No more Mr. Nice Duck.
I will say this is a good moment to say the score by John Barry and Sylvester LeVay works usually for the most part, but they have a serious problem of tonal shift because for fight scenes like these, we get a score that is super. That you'll be, if I can, you'll be here in a second. That it's super triumphant instead of actually, reflecting the kind of action that is about to happen.
I legit wonder. I know that Lucas took a lot of control of this project, but like, how directly in control was of this? Like, was he the one who called the shots with the tone?
We know that he was, outside of being a fan of the source material, he was also very attached to the project because he wanted to have money to found Skywalker Ranch. You can imagine how that story ended, but I'll mention more during the final thoughts because there's an interesting payoff.
This is going to be one of those and no one will believe you moments for these guys.
Yeah.
I mean, to be fair, one of them's like a creep wearing baby faces knitted into his leather jacket.
Again,
I think he had problems already.
If this was the traditional Marvel universe, so that would make more sense because this kind of absurdity happens all the time. It just doesn't get lampshaded that much. And again, Howard was the perfect character to do this kind of, commentary, so to speak. Later on, characters like She-Hulk, Deadpool, and Squirrel Girl will also fit the role, but he was kind of a pioneer.
Again, like I said, the ironic thing is this was apparently supposed to be the start of a Marvel Cinematic Universe of sorts here. So I guess the idea would have been that Howard would have been the start of weird stuff showing up, which, I guess to be fair, if we have a giant talking duck at that point, a guy with spider powers would have seemed lax by comparison.
Alright, just to mention, since you only mentioned one person involved in the suite, Ed Gale portrays Howard for the most part, but of course they had extras for other scenes and some puppeteers for scenes where Howard doesn't have to move that much. Particularly we have Jordan Prentice for additional suit performance, Tim Rose, Steve Sleep, Peter Baird, Mary Wells, and Lisa Sturz for the puppeteering, and for the actual voice acting, Chip Zien, which I don't know what he did. Let me see. This was relatively early in his career when it comes to movies. He played a character in Rosencrantz and Guildenstern Undead.
But yeah, no, again, I'll give it credit. Like, the movie's off to not a bad start, sure. Like, ironically, yes, it seems cliched nowadays having the character show up in the horrors of real world. But believe it or not, this is back when that stuff was relatively new, or at the very least considered more profound to do, essentially.
And again,
Like, it's one of those you need to think about it in the context of when it was released.
it's
Very
also the
much
point
so.
that it lacks the same context that the comics had. In the comics, again, it makes sense because the Marvel 616 universe was already populated by a lot of people with unnatural powers of, different kinds. So our world would have been right at home, except that the joke was that in a universe with that, he was still considered a weirdo, even from, people that normally did not hate a mutant. That was kind of like a punchline that in a world where mutant hatedom is a thing, Howard somehow is a step even below them.
Honestly, that's kind of always been the hilarious thing about the X-Men thing. Like, even to a more modern sense, if you got your powers through a freak science accident, congrats, you're technically not a mutant. You're only a mutant if you were born with them. Thus, you are hated. Kind of got a little hilarious when, House of M occurred, and in that warped reality, Spider-Man actually had to pretend being a mutant, even though he still had the spider powers.
Oh, that was because okay, what year was House of M? 2000. It was before Civil War.
2006.
It was around the time, remember, Jova, where
2005.
It was also around the time where one of the times to Avenger Disassembled had Spider-Man's origin changed, where he transforms into a spider, gives birth to himself, only because they wanted to him have the organic web shooters instead of a mechanical one, because quote-unquote synergy with the Sam Raimi movies.
You want to know what's crazy too? We've actually had that happen multiple times where Peter mutates, dies, turns into a giant spider, gives birth to himself, gets natural spiderweb powers. It happened more recently in a more modern one too, I think called The Other or some jazz like that.
Another
But
thing
yeah,
that this movie has it that I argue it's potentially a problem is that the pace, as you may have noticed, feels a bit slow. The comic was in a time where compressed storytelling was still considered kind of the norm. So you did get characters going from point A to point B very quickly, still managing to maintain a level of exposition, decent enough for the reader in that case to be comprehended. But this movie instead wants to take its time, probably because it wants to, ease up a whole lot of new people into the origin story of his character.
and apparently Howard has PTSD.
Listen,
Which,
Jova, again, like considering how the average isekai process involves the character to die by the hands of a truck, I kind of get it that at least some people will be mentally scarred by the experience.
it's funny. He even compares it to a truck and all that jazz, which, this was before Truck-kun became a thing.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, no, I do think one of the problems with this movie, or at least one of its struggles, is actually adapting Howard the Duck as like a movie. See, Howard the Duck runs on a formula that's more episodic, shall we say.
Yes.
Like, let me put it like this. 1 minute, Howard and Beverly could just be chillaxing at their apartment. Next thing you know, they're reenacting like Conan the Barbarian one day, essentially. Like,
the point of the
now,
absurdity is that, to give an idea, Howard's arch nemesis in the 616 universe is a supervillain called Dr. Bong. Called like that because his helmet is shaped like a bell.
Lord Almighty. I forget, did Howard ever get around to marrying Beverly?
I think so, but in the Chip Zdarsky run, they kinda have Beverly mysteriously been disappeared, only to be teased at the very end. I don't know if they actually had the characters reunited or not, but that's what everyone wanted, because, okay, let's put it this way. Howard and Beverly in the comics went through a lot, and I mean a lot, but, in time, people grew fine with these two characters having a relationship, because, yes, you can already, I know that it seems that I'm spoiling ahead, but people who are more savvy about movie tropes, they may have already guessed, the telegraphing that these movies actually heading towards.
What? You mean to tell me that the first woman he's realized who's nice and kind to him and is accepting of his duck nature will end up being his love interest in this movie? And and also that she happens to be played by Leah Thompson, a top-notch actress at the time? Nah.
The 80s, everyone. Love at first sight is such a magical tale.
Even between a human and a fucking duck.
Okay, if I am to give this movie credit, they don't treat it like, oh, she immediately wants to jump his bones, although...
No, instead, she's gonna do still something that, I don't really understand why. Okay, first of all, this, which is mildly creepy.
I guess she's trying to comfort him. It's not her immediately having the hots for a duck. But okay. Cards on the table. I've said it before, but I'll say it again with Sonic 06. The problem was not automatically Sonic and Elise's relationship.
There you go. Instead, she decides to rifle throughout his wallet.
Yeah, he gets to figure out if he's for real. Oh.
Yeah, Howard does get along.
And now he may never get to see his parents again. Malachard.
Blooming
ducks. Hey, some of these brands are out of business now.
The United States of trade, I guess.
God.
And yes, a condom.
What?
Lady, that is not your business.
Yeah, seriously.
Yeah. I guess she wanted to make sure that the big talking duck was for real. Well. But yeah, no, I'll say this. The Sonic and Elise relationship, that's been memed to death, but I will still hold. Had that relationship actually been conducted well enough, I bet you, and if the game had actually been good, I bet you the kiss would not be hated nearly as much as it is. Oh, don't get me wrong, people would still probably find that weird, but think of it like Roger Rabbit and Jessica Rabbit, essentially.
That was the original concept for Sonic, right?
So,
yeah.
That in itself is intrinsically the problem. If the Sonic saga had started with that kind of mentality in mind, it probably would have been far more accepted. But because not only Elise just shows up what is considered practically the middle of the franchise, but Sonic did have a canonical love interest at that point, to an extent, at the very least. That really felt fucking weird. And yes, I get the idea that Sonic 06 Regiment was supposed to be a stealth reboot and everything, but it's still weird.
Also, I think if they were going to actually go through with it, because even outside of things like Roger Rabbit, there's been other, mascot media that has done the human and anthro relationship, and people have been fine with it. I feel like not only would Sonic 06 have to have been good, they also should do it with characters that are the style of the Unleashed cast.
Yeah, because again...
Because she's too human.
The joke that people made when Sonic 06 was released is that, why did Sonic ended up in your average Final Fantasy game?
I mean, people constantly compare Elise to Kairi for a reason.
The humans would have to be in a much more Sonic-like style, I think.
To mention instead, now we got the other supporting character, but instead far more annoying, Dr. Phil Blumbert, played by Tim Robbins, and he's so fucking obnoxious. It sounds like he's auditioning for the role of the Riddler for the DC universe. Also, that tagline is stupid.
But Tim Robbins isn't a bad actor per se.
He was also nominated for Worst Supporting Actor at the Razzie, and I have a genuine problem for the fact that this particular, role, he did not want this particular role. Instead, the role went to Jerome Benton for the movie Under the Cherry Moon. I've ever to see Under the Cherry Moon myself. I will get more to it later. And I can tell that Jerome Benton is just fine in that movie. How did Tim Robbins did not won that category is beyond me.
I think it's because the other guy is probably more prominent. But hey, Tio, for your delight, this isn't Tim Robbins' only bad superhero movie. He's Robert Hammond in the Green Lantern movie.
I keep forgetting because I know that movie has a supporting cast of human characters, including the villain that gets corrupted by Parallax. But
Peter Sarsgaard, Hector Hammond is the
Yeah.
character's name.
but
Also, is that the specific iteration that Deadpool made fun of?
yes, the
Yes.
2011 movie, which I still don't think it's the worst movie ever made, and I still reiterate it's a better cinematic universe start than Man of Steel. But hey, I guess I don't know better than people at Warner Bros.
Okay, to be fair, I think part of why it gets memed on is so badly is because Ryan Reynolds himself really goes
Also,
out of his
people
way
had
to.
no idea back then. They had no idea how
They
worse things
really-
could get.
They really didn't. I think the problem with Green Lantern was, Green Lantern as a franchise had trouble that year. It's one of the few times where I can say the movie, the TV series, the video game, and the ride all failed. Yes, there was even a ride tied to that movie that was considered a failure.
So yeah, here's the thing. Howard obviously doesn't want to stay in this world for as long as he has to. Like as soon as he can get back, the better. But nobody understands for now how it could have happened.
I'm gonna give Tim Robbins the benefit of the doubt and say this is all
He said
basically
it. Again, part of the comic run is for Howard to get over, his blatant distaste for humanity. So I get they wanted to recapture also that. The problem is that
Again,
this
I
Howard
think-
is nowhere near as crass as the original.
Like I said, I think this iteration of Howard works well enough. Like, okay, we probably don't want to go full R rated, so you want to stick to PG, fine. He's, not your average cartoony character. He acts a bit adult and whatnot, but, this guy still acts like Howard enough. I feel like it works. The problem is, again, the movie around him, I feel, doesn't know entirely what it wants to do.
Again, I really think making it an animated adaptation would have been for the better anyway, because, again, it was also the time of the dark age of animation, so it wouldn't really fit. Again, I keep thinking about instead something like Fritz the Cat and how
Said
it
it
would have
again.
really feel, about it. Yes.
What we have here is a movie with a good enough character base. They just needed a better plot, I think, to push it forward. Wait. Why are you so pissed off?
Yeah, I kind of have to agree.
Yeah.
Leah Thompson acting in this is a bit rough. Surprisingly, she was not nominated for Worst Actress or Worst Supporting Actress. That actually was impressive that the Razzie actually left her alone. They normally love to bully early career people.
I'm curious, was there like another
me
actress's
check.
performance that one?
For Worst
Well, I guess there
Actress,
probably was.
in that movie, the contenders were Ali Sheedy in Blue City, haven't seen it, Brigitte Nielsen in Cobra, which, it's laughable, Cobra is a cheap action movie with Sylvester Stallone, come on. John Chen in Taipan, I haven't seen that either. Kim Basinger in 9.5 Weeks, which is an American erotic drama. So, no, her acting was fine in that. And the one who won, Madonna in Shanghai Express Surprise, because the Razzies love to bully Madonna.
Oh, do we have our second act breakup already?
We're not even 1/3 in. As for World Supporting Actress, we get Kristen Scott Thomas in Under the Cherry Moon, which this was early in her career, so like I said, the Razzie wanted to bully an early star. Beatrice Straight for the movie Power, which I haven't seen. Zelda Rubinstein in Poltergeist 2 The Other Side, I haven't seen it in a long time, so I don't remember. Louis Fletcher in Invaders from Mars, which, like I said, I haven't seen, so I don't know how that is. And the winner, Dom DeLuise in drag in Haunted Honeymoon, which is not funny at all.
I'm sorry, what was that title?
Again, the Razzies wanting to be funny when they're not.
The sad thing is, the Razzies can occasionally be funny, and I do think there is a place in the world for the Razzies if they know to actually look for what's bad and not just what's popular to say is bad. I'm not saying that they don't occasionally get it right. I'd say more often than not they do, but there's way too many cases where you can tell they're just doing it because this is the most well-known or popular one.
Oh, wow.
Look, never underestimate the tenacity of a black woman, especially
Has
the
she
farther
adopted
back you
him?
go.
At
Oh
this
god,
point,
if she adopts him, then she's
Oh,
definitely
word,
not gonna let him.
come on.
Jesus, he was about to bite into that cake. I mean, it's nice to know he doesn't discriminate.
What a way to-
yes,
a
this
movie for the whole
PG movie
family.
for kids. Holy cow. How many sexual awakenings were there in the theater with this movie?
Also, consider the humidity of the place, because this is still like a hot bath place. Howard's, pampers must be drenched.
Can you, like, take it outside?
Hey, step off, Danny DeVito wannabe. I swear, half the times this movie more or less wants to play things up straight, then the other half it turns into a literal live-action cartoon.
Again, you can tell George Lucas really, really wants to... Jesus Christ, I forgot about this red filter. What the fuck? You can tell George Lucas wants to recapture the whole thing about how the comic wanted to be press about the lower aspect of society that not many people want to talk about, and how a lot of humans in that ambience tend to be horrible to each other. But once again, the movie is in conflict with itself because on one side it wants to do that, on the other wants to be a whimsical tale about someone wanting to get back home.
Like, I feel like a lot of these segments feel like they would be episodes of a series.
To be fair, at that point, the miniseries were not already as popular. Stephen King was popularizing them, but for other stuff, you were getting mostly out of Canada usually.
Coca-Cola and Reebok, I'll admit, the product placement is actually more subtle in this movie. Poor Howard. A duck low on his luck.
Again, the tagline for his comic run... Okay.
That was a line read.
The tagline for the original comic run, which stood out, I think up until very recently, was again trapped in a world he never made. And again, even in relatively more recent runs, they did keep that aspect. I don't know if you know this drama, but check this out. Get it? Daffy Duck. It's the Irony Channel, I guess. But in the tie-in issues of Civil War, as in the B2000 Civil War event that Marvel was running, Howard reason for not having to be bothered by the Superhuman Registration Act was that the US government realized that Howard never really had any ID registration because, again, he was, flung from a different dimension. So they basically reached a compromise and told him that he doesn't have to pay taxes, but he doesn't have to bother them as a result because the paperwork would have been too stupid and too high.
It's really funny
Wonderful.
thinking about Sonic X where they would make the, child cast get passports and like flight licenses and shit.
Wow.
Yes.
Yeah, they made them do that.
Look, gotta follow the rules of the law, even if you supplant yourself into another world. Helps keep the jurisdiction in order.
Do you think that was another thing that Yuji Naka might have mandated?
I don't know.
At this point.
I swear. Oh God, did you hear that
Yes,
recent interview?
I
Oh.
did.
It really sounds more like a parody of something that he would do, but no, apparently. At least according word to mouth, who knows. So yeah, despite everything, Beverly still resides in the heart of Howard.
What's taking me out of this movie is that so many people hate ducks. I don't believe that.
It's running on the school of prejudice where, even something that would feel naturally stupid to be xenophobic against, people will indeed do. Again, it's the thing that
That's true.
It's the key thing that I keep saying about why the premise, emphasis the premise and not the execution, of Detroit Become Human is still fine, because the idea is that, mankind developing AIs and robots that would potentially naturally develop sapiens would be naturally treated with the same kind of, paranoia, fear, and hatedom that other ethnicities might have been over the centuries. The problem with the Detroit, of course, it was instead David Cage decided to treat the subject with the subtlety of, taking the entire PS4 console and slamming in the face with it. Hilarious. Yeah, this was actually foreshadowed before about how Beverly's manager was actually treating the band like shit.
Basically pocketing the money until she would take him up on his propositions. Of course, a dashing gentleman like Mr. Howard the Duck does not take kindly to such mistreatment.
Outside of one character who will show up later, I don't really recognize pretty much any of the extras that are in this, so... Hmm. Hilarious. Of course, you do realize this means war.
That one guy is enjoying this way too much.
Yeah. Ah.
Also, Shiroi, one thing you gotta know, when it comes to almost any Marvel superhero, expect the civilians to be assholes up until they start to love the hero.
Oh, that's gonna hurt.
Yeah, to an extent. The movie passed it off as, oh, it's super cool, the fact that he deliberately aimed at the middle of the ring, but no, you're still pulling the fucking ear. I guess it's a creative way to torture someone, but I don't remember Jack Bauer ever doing that.
I mean, he's thankful he doesn't have one on his pee-pee.
Space rabies.
Space rabies. It makes sense they believe that. Half of them are drunk and high.
Also, fun fact, when I first saw Blues Brothers when I was a kid, I had no idea why they would really be needing that, net up until they started throwing beers. I was like, oh, maybe it's just the movie wanted to be quirky, but no, it was a thing in the culture at the time to actually protect the singers.
I do not recognize any of these other actresses who are part of her band.
No, let me see. Okay, Holly Robinson, I might have heard her.
Wait, Holly Robinson? Is that the one that looks like Miley Cyrus?
She plays Casey. Basically, this was early in her career. She later was in 21 Jump Street and a 2017 documentary about Michael Jackson. That's because she was also she was one of the prominent cast in 21 Jump Street actual main series, other than just the movie. Man, she has done a lot of TV even to this day. Also, I have no idea what kind of weird sound Tim Robbins made when he came in.
Okay, one's called Ronette. Let's see. Ronette is played by Liz Segal. Oh, she's done some writing for shows like Mad About You, Two
And
Guys Who
Monk.
Go on a Pizza Place, and Monk. Love that show. Oh, she wrote for the 2021 Cowboy Bebop show.
Great.
Although she did do the 2019 Lost in Space show, which was actually pretty good.
We still probably need to check that out. It's a Netflix production
Movie.
anyway.
As for acting,
She was in Grease
cheerleader
too.
twin.
That was
As a
terrible.
cheerleader twin, she was in Double Trouble as Allison Foster, Skinheads as Amy, and Picket Fences was apparently her last acting role in 1993.
So yeah, T. Robbins' character needs a sample. Ow.
Taken without his consent.
Or science.
Like, I guess it is the equivalent of getting a hair strand, but it's still creepy as shit. Again, this movie captures the idea that there are people who are genuinely interested in caring about also Howard, but just as many others not only just hate him, but love to just pester him.
Or run away.
Again, to be fair, that's kind of Marvel Citizens in a nutshell.
Alright, I think it's now. It's DC now.
What?
Oh, right, I forgot. I think we're about to have a musical montage.
Oh, no, not even just that, Joe.
Should I be scared?
You'll be able to judge. I mean, I think you should probably be scared by the way how the scene transitions to the next.
Okay.
You could say Howard is a Renaissance duck, so to speak, very talented in doing different things. Yeah, I guess you
I'm
could
sure
say
you
that.
have.
There's gotta be a better way to say that.
Okay, to be fair, this does seem
Oh, no,
up the alley with what the
I
comics would
was
have
going to
done.
mention it in a second, but don't worry. That's actually to assimilate it, or we'll say the scene.
Man, Leah Thompson's career was weird at this point. From Back to the Future to a movie about bonking a Duck Marvel superhero. Because yes, Howard is technically supposed to be a superhero. God, I think there was a weird time where even he was an Avenger.
I mean, everyone has been at some point.
You've either been an Avenger or you've been an X-Men. Or a Fantastic Four member.
I feel so sorry for this lady, because apparently there's a corkscrew.
Yes.
Oh, yes, and very, 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 very long.
That's gonna fucking hurt.
Well, Shiroi, it might interest you to know, but as of What If in the MCU, apparently Howard can indeed reproduce with human women. Oh god, his feathers are furling up.
Now, to be thankfully, the movie doesn't really go the extra mile, but again, this is something, again, believe it or not, that is to an extent comic book accurate. Beverly Howard, at some point, yes, did bang. Again, the comic never bothered to show anything, but at the same time, it doesn't really leave much to the imagination. But I think it helps the fact that they bothered to actually build up their relationship, so it actually felt a bit more believable.
I'm making out with a guy in a duck suit.
Oh
this
no,
is what
it's
my
Jeffrey
career
Jones,
is.
run away.
How did you get in here? And can you, like, not?
Jeffrey Jones is the reason why Dweebs is not here, because in case you don't know, he has been actually convicted for being, a sex pest.
Oh, yikes.
Which is kind of a shame because of our correctly, some people consider him the most memorable part of this movie.
He has been in a lot of interesting movies, like the Tim Burton version of Sleeping Hollow, for example, or the Beetlejuice movies.
Oh.
Okay, I knew he was in Beetlejuice. I forgot he was in Sleepy Hollow.
Yes, he plays one of the key people from the titular town, because if you recall, Tim Burton's version of Sleepy Hollow tries to play more about the political aspect of the place. Oh, a Sony cassette player.
But I think this was before Sony were really making a super pledge into the movie world.
It was the 80s, Jova. The Japanese economic boom. It was actually at the cusp of the cyberpunk era, so Sony was selling a lot of things.
I know they were deep into music at this point, and
Yes.
we all know what would be their start with video games, but movie-wise, I don't remember.
I don't think so, because the studios that eventually got bought, TriStar and Columbia, were still independent at this point on their own. So anyway,
basically,
yeah, it suggested that what else? A screwing up with a teleporter device might have been the reason Howard got teleported here, which is
humans fucked it, of course.
Which is oddly enough very similar to the origin story of a Fantastic Four in the Ultimate Universe, and the thing that Fan Forstick was referencing.
Just for the record, half the time he doesn't even wear pants in the comics. Like, sometimes he does, sometimes he doesn't.
Most of the time when he does is, you have to basically assert that the time that he does is because at that point Disney had filed a lawsuit, so they needed to be legally distinct from Donald Duck just enough.
Pretty much, yeah.
So that's why the female ducks can have their boobies that they don't have out.
Clearly.
What does it say that we not only saw literal, let's be honest, those were human breasts on a duck, but let's call them duck breasts, and they seem to tease we're going to see Leah Thompson's, and I don't know. Given what you could get away with PG in, do you think they could have gone that whole way, or they actually did have to stop there?
All I'm
Ducks
saying,
don't even have breasts, so it's
no.
just weird.
All I'm saying is that
Shiroi,
this
it's
was
an
the
alternate
equivalent.
reality where ducks are people. Of course they have breasts there.
Yeah, it's kind of like the Mario Bros. 1993 movie where reptiles evolved into, mammalian shape, people. But
Interesting time for me to mention, whereas the Super Mario Brothers film of 1993 actually did get a pretty good cult following, this movie did get a cult following, but not one as prominent as that. Like, for reference sake, the Super Mario Brothers movie got a 35 edition re-release that's basically a director's cut, has
yeah,
tons of never-before-seen footage and
infamously,
everything.
Universal refused to make a commemorative Blu-ray of the anniversary of this movie, which is what a shame. I think eventually it did get an actual proper Blu-ray release, but I don't know when. Also, Job, all I'm saying is that this was some generations equivalent to how Lola Bunny was in Space Jam.
Oh, yes. I can definitely see that. Look, we've established that this movie is very sexually charged.
It's kind of
And
like
again,
one per decade. I think in the 70s there was Disney's Robin Hood. The
I was
80s,
going to mention that
the
one,
80s
yes.
had this. The 90s had Space Jam. Zootropolis
oh,
was
the
for
90s also
2010s.
had.
So
Oh, don't forget, the 90s also had Lion King. A lot of people got their awakening from that scene with Nala.
of course. Sometimes I kind of understand Howard in a sense, but I don't understand people.
I
Maybe
agree.
maybe that's what Howard truly shows us. How maybe deep down we don't truly understand ourselves.
Thankfully,
Maybe
this movie doesn't go the stupid shit of, oh, humans are the real monsters, and Howard is the one that empathizes more. No, it's really more of a case of humanity is different, varied, strange, but Howard can fit in.
so. Yeah, we're totally gonna send Howard the Duck back to his home and never see him
That's the halfway
again.
point of the movie. Yes, truly.
Like, a lot of this, that's the thing I've noticed about this movie is the pacing, because a lot of this feels like we should be in the last act of the movie.
Yes.
I will say, I wonder if maybe the movie has an advantage when somebody doesn't have a literal time bar like we do, but even still, movies typically were not this short, essentially. So I feel like if anyone was paying attention to the time, they'd think it's a little weird.
Well,
Oh yeah,
I-
this is happening.
oh.
Yeah, off screen, the machine exploded, and it seems that something may have turned out for the worse.
But yeah, like, I haven't even been looking at the progress bar. Like, it's just like, with the way that the kind of story that they've told up to this point is, it feels like we should be at the end because they've seen so many stories like it.
Yeah.
And those normally
Okay,
would be at that point.
and that is why, Shiroi. And now for something completely different.
Again, this is their teleportation device. Yeah.
It seems that Dr. Jennings may have been caught in the blast. Okay, also, who's this young Michael J. Fox wannabe guy? Like, he shows
I
up
don't think he's
with Tim
important.
Robbins' Jennings character, but yeah, I don't remember him much.
Like I said, I don't recognize most of the supporting cast.
Hi, Robin Williams wannabe. I'm noticing a lot of discounties.
Well, this was 86, so I guess Robin Williams at this point was mostly famous just for his stand-up comedy. Let me see what movie he might have been in at the time.
I don't know. I know he had to be big by the time of the 90s, hence them wanting to profit off of him for Aladdin, so I'm not sure. But yeah, sorry, Shiroi. Howard's return to his homeworld has been delayed because of a convenient explosion.
By another hour.
Yeah, and I'm sure nothing else will happen.
It's more wacky hijinks like the rest of the movie.
Okay.
Hey, he's called Kirby. The Thing. Get it?
Yeah, like the King Jack. Robin Williams, up until this point, had not done that much in terms of movies. Oh, right, he was in the Popeye movie in 1980, I guess.
Oh, yeah.
But it wasn't until the 90s that he will start being more prominent, thanks to movies like Hook, Ferngully, Aladdin, and so on. In TV, he was mostly known for, of course, Mork and Mindy.
It feels like I'm in an episode of The Muppets with that puppetry.
Yeah, sure.
Of course.
I can't believe these Marvel movies became so political.
Again, Marvel citizenship. Isn't it wonderful? Okay, given what was going on with Cleveland, I can maybe believe the police force weren't the best.
They're still not.
Also, it's so easy to steal a gun from a police officer like that, at least for the 70s.
Also, speaking of Cleveland, have I ever told you guys about the time where the baseball stadium hosted a 10-cent beer night?
Oh no.
It went about as well as you can imagine.
Wait,
I mean-
10 cents per beer.
Yes.
I mean-
now,
You know what?
Now.
That natural selection. That's
Yeah,
what...
I'm getting reminded of when the Tsar in Russia organized, a free food event, and it ended up with several people dead due to stampedes.
You know, I'd say you're trying to be Batman 89, but no, this came out before Batman 89.
No, this is the halfway point is where the movie turns to a bit more darker tone, believe it or not, because of, what happens to Dr. Jennings.
Here we go. You know, I mentioned Green Lantern 2011. This movie kind of has a bit of a similar story beat to Green Lantern 2011, ironically.
So, the teleporter malfunctioned again, and something else got teleported. So I know what you're thinking.
Remember,
Oh, Howard does, like I mentioned Dr. Bong, but Howard does have a selection of people he went against. So he has a decent enough rogues gallery to actually, give it a try to actually to do something. So who did they choose from that? No one. They created a villain specifically for this movie.
yeah, this is where I kind of have to scratch my head. Like, okay, maybe the idea was to save that villain for the sequel, but okay, given how normal this universe is for the most part, given people's shocked reactions to Howard, I kind of have to wonder how they were planning to bring in his regular rogues gallery for the sequels.
For the themes of a movie, it's fine because Howard has dealt with actual eldritch entities, and this is basically what they're playing up with. The idea that whatever has possessed Dr. Jennings is, this unholy entity from the deep of the cosmos, and as a parallel to Howard, it will instead want to conquer humanity and the Earth. Just to showcase what kind of untapped realms a human can peer into and, recklessly like that. I get it. But the problem is that they could have just, even if it's not from Howard's Rogues Gallery, the Marvel Universe has a lot of cosmic characters that they could have done, like Shumagorath, for example, or the Dweller of the Deep.
Shoot, not just that. Howard gets into all sorts of things. Like, you could have him run into Frankenstein's monster, Dracula, King Kong, and that would be like a normal first day for him. And if I recall correctly, the Universal monsters at this point were public domain.
I don't
some
remember.
stipulations.
But Jova, you don't know the worst thing he has run against, which is from the Chips Zdrasky's run, which is Aunt May
It
with
was,
a gun.
you know, the funny thing is, Aunt May has been Galactus's herald, so
Yeah,
when you
Golden
think about
Granny.
it, sure. Do you know about the concept of Galactus and Silver Surfer?
I mean,
No.
you were in the commentary of the Fantastic Four movies, but to be fair, it's been a long time ago.
It's been years.
Okay, long story short, Galactus is a giant entity that eats planets, and Silver Surfer
Literally.
is his herald. There was a point in time, and yes, it was technically a joke comic, but it's happened, and apparently it's canon in the multiverse.
Yes.
Aunt May, Spider-Man's aunt, once became the herald of Galactus as Golden Oldie.
I think it was one of those short stories that want to sell about Hostess Fruit Pies.
It was such a good idea to put the Delirious guy behind the wheel.
Yeah, apparently Beverly could not drive because...
And yeah, Jennings is now dead. The entity that possessed him essentially killed Jennings.
The weird thing about it is that Howard and Beverly do not really believe him for now. I don't know why.
And the weird thing is, they treat it so nonchalantly. Okay, like, yes, eventually they treat it seriously, but the movie's in this weird crossroads of getting a lot darker, but they don't really acknowledge that it's gotten darker.
What the hell is this place?
A sushi restaurant.
Which is still, it's treated more like an American diner? Is this one of those...
What a fusion.
Is this one of those combo weird restaurants?
I guess so.
Shut the fuck up.
Let's see, he's acting completely different. He is speaking completely different. We know we're in a world that can transport beings, but no, this guy's totally just faking being possessed.
Got beaten with a stupid stick.
Yep. Arbitrary skepticism, my favorite.
Which, to be fair, it is actually also a thing in the Marvel Universe. Okay, not as much as Doctor 13 for the DC Universe, but you get what I mean. Sir, this is the Wendy's, literally.
Okay. In a manner of speaking.
I mean, to be fair, this was another big problem of the time. According to William Shatner himself, the reason he constructed the plot of Star Trek V the way he did was because he wanted to take the piece out of televangelists.
The Chip Zdarsky run, that's like the most recent Howard the Duck run, right?
Yes, from the mid-2010s. There has been another volume in 2023, but I haven't read it yet. Yeah, the Dark Overlord of the Universe. Such a generic title to boot. Like, yes, there are entities in the Marvel multiverse that do have generic titles, like the Celestials to an extent, but they really couldn't come up with anything else in this.
Let me check something. Hold on. When
Yeah,
was the
it was
He-Man?
Database.
When was the He-Man movie released? Because Dark Lords of the Universe, Masters of the Universe. Oh, 1987. A year after this.
Yeah, there it is. So just to mention, because like I said, this Dark Overlord figure was created specifically for this movie, and as far as I know, did not receive any comic book variant outside of the actual comic book adaptation of this movie, which was a thing at the time that Marvel was doing. Because home video market was not as common as these days, so one good alternative for people who could not watch the movie in theaters was to get a comic book adaptation, and Marvel was all in. Although it's not a good adaptation, I will say that. Especially because the Dark Overlord of the universe in that adaptation takes also some weird shapes that I will mention later.
Also, get it? Howard doesn't like eating poultry.
I mean, I kinda get it.
The funny thing is, a lot of birds do eat poultry.
Including their own eggs, they will just be merciless and eat their eggs.
Mm-hmm.
Although I guess it's like different because like they are sentient. What's the word I'm thinking of?
Yeah, I get what you
Like-
mean. It's like the TV tropes calls it furry confusion, I think. Not the Heinz condiments.
What I love about Splatoon is that they don't really have that. They will just eat. They will just eat salmon. Salmon will eat Inklings. Like it's just a thing.
I mean, it took up until Gen 9 for Pokemon to actually acknowledge that the people eat, some level of meat-based, food in some capacity, because up until that point, they really, really were scared to potentially say people might actually eat Pokemon in some capacity. So even a fast food equivalent in Gen 6 for the Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire remake was turned into a berry-themed joint.
So, I just want to note, we literally had back-to-back a joke about Howard not wanting to eat eggs to suddenly the plot getting really deadly serious.
And now with a bunch of redneck wanting to have a fight.
And we are still left with like 45 minutes left in this movie. Why are you telling them to leave him alone? Shouldn't you be using them as a distraction so you can try and get away?
That we still need to actually use the teleporter device, and we still need
Oh,
Dr.
yes.
Jennings for it.
Even though, again, Dr. Jennings said that he's dead, but eh. Why is he fighting these people? Shouldn't he be fighting the evil Dark Overlord? Like, I get it, they stole the device, but this feels weird.
Also, they wanted to have Howard in Wacky Hijinks.
Like, the villain is
Called the
right there,
Avengers.
but
Oh,
he's
wait.
just... What is this, a Waffle House?
Also, I've been hearing stories about the Denny's parking lot, so this might actually fit that.
I love it! This epic music over what's clearly supposed to be more of a comedic scene.
Again, I mentioned before, the problem with the score is that it's tone deaf all the fucking way.
Like, I really want to know who was truly putting this together. Yes, I know a lot of fingers point to Lucas, but... And I'm sorry, I feel like even he would have to know some of these things don't fit. And the more I've learned about the making of the movie, the more I know how messed up things can get to the point where sometimes when a writer gets a script greenlit, more often than not, the script that gets greenlit is not the script we actually see in a film, since it has to go through producers, other writers, and directors too. Also, is this typical of Marvel citizens? Let's kill him!
Lynch
As
mob,
in literally
yeah.
cook and eat him. Why? Like, he's sentient and begging. Why?
And he's not even a crab. I mean, yeah, I guess so.
Wait, how does he know that, though? He only just got here.
Yeah, that is a good point. The Dark Overlord sure knows a lot of shit.
I want to be fair. A scenario like this probably would not be too out of place in a random comic, but I cannot stress enough, this is not just a random comic. This is a whole movie.
Also, I will say the powers of the Dark Overlord of the universe are kinda lame. It's just occasionally zamps something and makes stuff explode.
Also, I love that one joke. Huh, he must have just ate the chili. Like, I'm sorry, is that a side effect of the chili here? You have seen a guy light up with electricity, and your first attempt is to go at him with a knife.
What the hell is the physics of that?
The powers of the Dark Lords of the universe. Which, hey, shouldn't it be Dark Lords of the multiverse?
At this point, possible. Also, this is probably just, George Lucas still wanting to reference Star Wars to some degree.
Oh, yeah, no, like, this guy is totally Palpatine, basically.
I forgot.
That's
Did
it, what?
Palpatine ever had... yes, he did have telekinesis because in episode 3 he tries to use literally the Senate to kill Yoda. I mean, he is the Senate after all. Not the
Oh no, not the
Pepsi!
Pepsi!
How would I do without the Pepsi?
And the iced tea!
It's okay, Jova, he's a sellout.
The Bud Light! Oh yes,
blue
a
now.
chair.
Double
Yes,
double down.
a chair was absolutely gonna stop him.
Hi.
What is with that voice?
Again, supposedly he's getting more and more possessed by the Dark Overlord.
He has the Force.
That's not how the Force works. You'll believe that a duck can spin. Oh goody, it's a family party.
They certainly try to play up the comedic nature of the Dark Overlord, I guess.
See, the thing is that, again, the Dark Overlord species as a whole doesn't seem to have a lot of characterization. Yes, there seems to be this macabre side to them, but other than that, they're very generic, conquering Overlord aliens.
And he decides to take her with him. Why?
Because we need a damsel in distress. Again, the Martians in Mars Attacks had more personality.
God, you're actually right. You know, the weird thing is, if this were like, say, some movie in the 2000s, I'd say it's the usual cynical take of, oh, we gotta introduce our own original serious villain. But the thing is, unlike movies of that time, this movie, for the most part, I'd say has gotten down the comic book nature of things, so
If
it's
anything,
clearly
this
not
might have been a
afraid to do the silly
trendsetter.
things. Yeah, so like, So, like, to give it credit, it's not like this movie shies away from being a comic book movie, so I really don't get why they felt the need to do an original character. Were they trying to, like, make their own mark? Was it them trying to set up for sequels where we'd face against the villains we knew of the time? Oh, okay, that's why he's taking her with him. That said, don't you need more than just one other human to have them
Probably
possessed?
gonna start having some extra power. Oh no, the batteries are draining.
So basically, the Dark Overlords are kind of like xenomorphs, I guess. They grow in the human bodies, and then I guess eventually they burst out.
And they're energy based.
Hate that. Hate all of that.
I mean, I've seen Freddy Krueger doing worse with these, so this is
That's
nothing
good
new.
electricity.
I mean, it does look more gross and supernatural when they do it. So.
That is to be said, though, that so far, I still argue that the special effects have been fine because Industrial Light and Magic knows how to handle puppetry and makeup.
Oh, hey, Tim Robbins, you're still in this movie. You know, if that actor turned out to be on the list, that just makes this way more prophetic than they probably meant it to be. Or do that.
You could have done that the whole time.
Okay, to be fair, he needed the police to be distracted before doing that. Of course. Right, yeah, it turns out back in Howard's homeworld, ducks can't fly because they don't have their wings anymore. Shame that. Nuclear power at that. But wait, that means he's gonna be radioactive. That can't be good.
Oh, I'm sure this will go well.
About to do the Wright brothers proud.
It's okay, none of them are good at their job.
Also, you do know that police copters can be a thing, Tim Robbins, right?
Is this a site where they'd have one?
They'd probably need to call it in and consider them a big enough threat, so for now they're good. I love how seriously that actor took that line.
Yeah. I mean, hey, can't be mad at that. I don't think that guy needs coffee.
I think he needs a bit of water and an exorcist. This music sounds a little too uplifting for what should be a dark scene,
Uplifting for him, I suppose.
I guess. Okay, now he really is radioactive. Trust your birdness. Goodness gracious. Thanks, American Bank. We couldn't have done it without you. Oh god, duck hunters. I'm sorry, North American. I'm sure those cops are fine. Karma, I guess. You're not Shadow the Hedgehog.
Not yet.
Howard the Duck. Guest starring in Shadow the Hedgehog 2. Clearly, I am turning into Albert Einstein. These music choices are again weird. I get that it's an uplifting moment for him, but shouldn't it be a moment of terror for us, the audience?
They're definitely going with a bit of the whimsy factor with this movie.
Yeah. Meanwhile, duck hunt is still ongoing. Gotta give these cops credit. They are persistent.
Oh, good, yeah, just in time, back in time for the chase scene.
Actually, the chase has been going on for a while. I hate to say it to you, we're kind of in Dark Knight territory where the final act is kind of one big climax.
Considering the chase scene, I will compare it more to Matrix Reloaded.
They've been
Fair
running
enough.
for at least 5-10 minutes.
I know, right? And
They
meanwhile,
really want to get the mileage out of that vehicle.
Meanwhile, the Dark Overlord has gotten to the point where Dr. Jennings' body is resembling more so Dr. Wily, and he is literally radioactive, complete with a red glow and everything.
Well, that can be good.
Also, we established that Howard's species actually, believe it or not, can't fly because God, in their world, took their wings away.
I mean, it's a better lampshading that the fact that Disney Comics and the DuckTales series will never explain that fact. Oh no, you're waterboarding Tim Robbins.
Jesus.
That's a sentence. So, okay.
Oh,
but what else he was doing at the time?
Oh, by the way, there was also a scene where Howard got comeuppance on the Duck Hunters, where he literally shouted, "Vengeance is mine!" like he was flipping Batman.
Oh, at the very least, it's more, on point. Did you notice what he also said before that?
Mhm.
What?
Tora, Tora, Tora. He literally invoked the battle cry of the Japanese suicide bombers from World War II.
Oh, jeez.
Oh,
I have
my...
no idea why they did that.
Never mind the fact that he doesn't even suicide bomb them, just... Why?
Try to guess because the movie called Tora, Tora, Tora was actually popular at the time. I wouldn't say that the translation as a whole was screwed up. It's just an occasional moment. But just to mention, because we have been doing it for a while, you want to know what this movie is called in my country instead of just Howard the Duck? Howard and the Fate of the World.
Well, I guess that's technically a true title, but Jesus.
It makes it sound so much more epic in scope.
Also, Tio, to your delight, for some reason they've been playing happy, uplifting music whenever the Dark Overlord gets more powerful, playing up that whimsy factor for the Dark Overlord.
Mm-hmm.
I really wonder, did this movie run into any production issues? Because it feels like the closer we get to the ending, the more it feels like people were running out of ideas or didn't know what to do.
Let me see.
Get it? He's a duck and he can't swim and he can't fly.
There were some different scrapped scripts, for this movie. A stronger emphasis originally was placed on special effects rather than satire and story. Steve Gerber had just a random comment to say on how he was really into the movie, however. Yeah, again, Steve Gerber apparently, despite everything, believed that the movie was faithful to both the spirit of the comic book and the characters of Howard and Beverly, which, to an extent, I had to agree, but the second half really is what bogs this movie down. And, okay, as mentioned, an early proposed storyline involved the character being transported to Hawaii, The director states that this storyline was considered because we thought it would be a sort of fun to shoot there. Oh goody, another director
Of
wants to have
course.
the excuse for a vacation. According to Katz, they did not want to explain how Howard arrived on Earth initially, but later rewrote the screenplay so that the film would begin on Howard's homeworld. The
I
director
guess
and
that's an
writer
improvement.
wanted to incorporate both lighter humorous elements and darker suspenseful elements. Katz states that some readers were confused by the sexual elements of the screenplay, as they were unsure as to whether the film was intended for adults or children. Yeah. Director and
They
writer.
definitely don't seem sure still.
And eventually they wrote the ending of being for the movie to be open for a sequel, which of course was never produced. If I recall correctly, this was the first major, and I mean real major, bomb for something that George Lucas handled.
Also, get it? They have a BFG, but it's under lock and key.
I mean, to be fair, it's probably for the best. I love it. For this transporter device, they have just one identification key. Try 22875. It's my birthday, according to Hunter. I forgot how much red filter is in this movie.
Huh. Okay, the BFG is kind of disgustingly easy to get to.
I mean, to be fair, this is not a military base to an extent. It's supposed to be just a
True.
scientific, observatory.
That is true. So, you see, guys, it turns out this was actually a backdoor Mega Man pilot. This is the origin of Dr. Wily.
Clearly.
Again, credit where it's due, the effects and makeup department really went into overdrive for this
Like
movie.
I said, there will be a bad special effects incoming, so, don't set your expectations too high, but I still disagree with the Ramses of letting this win, worst special effects.
Oh, come on. He's getting so mutated that he's got part of his bone sticking out from his spine.
Classic.
Oops.
Raise your hands where we can see them. Okay.
Like, maybe the idea was to have him be this dark, booming overlord, but the comedic thing is that his voice sounds all funny like that.
I don't know.
I'm guessing that's supposed to be it. Again, that's the sad thing. We go from a movie where I see the vision of Howard the Duck to a movie where I'm now questioning every detail they did by the end. It's weird. It almost feels like two movies mushed together. Like I said, the minute things go off the walls are basically as soon as like the particle cannon explodes and Jennings gets possessed.
They probably should have just used an already existing villain.
Like I said, some stories of Howard went really bonkers. There's an entire set of a couple of issues where Howard is literally trapped in a limbo dimension and he doesn't really realize how he got there, and part of the story is to figure out how things played out, and it's actually pretty interesting because it's literally reconstructing piece by piece like a puzzle. But this doesn't even come close to that kind of thought behind it. Safety first.
Whee!
Yes, this duck is forklift certified.
Pond hoppers, so I guess that means the Dark Lords have ducks in their universe too.
Or at the very least they have knowledge on how the rest of the multiverse works. which in case it really makes me wonder how they deal with the Celestials on a daily basis. Then again, according to recent stories, the Celestials cannot do anything behind the majesty that is Knull. So what do I know?
Oh God, Cano. Okay, I want to be fair. I don't even hate the idea of Cano, and I think when used right, he's a cool concept.
But they made him so overpowered, stupidly so.
I feel like the Cano's main purpose was to basically give the Venom symbiotes an equivalent to the Spider Totem, basically.
Alright, I think it's now. Boop.
Now, why didn't we think of that?
Of course.
Oh,
yeah,
he
that
spits
is true.
acid.
Because alien.
Not your best one-liner, Howard.
Jazz hands.
It's bothered me throughout the whole movie, and it's bothering me even more now how, like, human flesh around his eyes.
Also, Beam of War, of course. This is literally turning into a DBZ movie.
Howard the Duck doing Dragon Ball.
Still would be a better DBZ movie than Dragon Ball Evolution. Oh!
That's not hard.
Oh, even Shiroi knows about that one, I see.
I've seen it more than once, unfortunately.
Which is definitely more than one time, the time you should watch it.
Yeah, I've seen it more than 0 times, which is, like, terrible.
So yeah, the day's saved, right?
Thanks to...
We have a little bit of the movie left.
Well, clearly, I'm sure the last 15 minutes or so are all dedicated to Howard re-assimilating back to life, and
No, Jennings
Jennings!
It's back to normal. Yeah, tell that to the judge.
I'll be honest. I honestly thought I remembered Jennings just outright dying.
No, he was taken over technically by the Dark Overlord, but with the BFG, they managed to expel the spirit of the Overlord from him, so he managed to return to his older self. Okay, here we go.
Yeah.
That means, well, that the Overlord is still there, and it's a very crappy special effects because it's a puppet animated in stop motion, as you'll be able to see.
What are you talking about, Tio? That was perfect for the 30s. Oh wait, it's the 80s.
When did Ray Harryhausen snuck in the production crew? I mean, the design is fine. I kind of like this design for this alien creature, but my god, does he stick out.
Like, the design's good. I'm gonna give it credit. This was what they could do for the 80s. Like, let's not forget, even the almighty James Cameron had to use stop motion for Terminator, essentially, because, I do like that they actually do let him still talk in his regular form.
I like, the Violator in Spawn.
But yeah, I guess good for Jennings. He survives. I legit remembered him dying, especially given how messed up his body got and all that. But no, he's back to normal.
I get it. Like, as far as effects for non-human creatures go, it looks so different from anything else we've seen. Design is pretty good, though.
Yes.
Again, this would make a great Mortal Kombat boss character.
Imagine Mortal Kombat now featuring Howard the Duck characters.
I mean, we already had MK versus DC, so
Also, I'll give him credit, there is some practical effects mixed in there.
this is still Lucasfilm when you're talking about any Industrial Light and Magic.
Oh,
Moving
hey,
firemen
he said
ready. Ha, ha,
he
ha,
said the
ha.
line.
I clapped.
Of course, there's a countdown for arrival. Ow. That beam does something. Sorry, Howard. You gotta be the... Oh, thanks, Jennings.
Ooh, nasty.
Oh, gross.
Of course, green blood. We gotta keep it PG in this film that shows bare breasts and
And
women
almost
making
a
out with
sex scene.
ducks.
And that's still moving.
True, not just almost sex scenes. Remember, Howard worked in what looked like a sex club for a bit.
True.
He pulled a condom. Well, she pulled a condom out of his wallet. Like,
Yeah, I can just imagine the kids asking their parents what that's supposed to be.
Like,
Mommy,
on
is
the
that
one
gum?
hand, yes, sweetie, and don't question why it looks sticky.
I mean, one of the synonyms for the American language is rubber, so you know you can just say that it's an eraser, of course. So.
Like, eat claw duck. Jesus Christ, these one-liners. You know, I want to be fair and say it's nice that a film recognizes that, hey, we don't have to coddle children to, act like they can't truly understand anything. At the same time, though, I do understand some people saying that we should ease kids into the adult world. This is not easing. This is pulling and dragging them.
Tom Bluth had a good way of doing that in the 80s.
Oh god, he made a lot of kids terrified of cats, though.
Again, if it wasn't for Ralph Bakshi, I guess he would have been a good candidate for an animated movie of this, based on this.
Couldn't be me. The cats were there before I was.
Of course.
It's very strange remembering a time when your pets were taller than you.
Perspective and all. Yeah, the conundrum. They need to stop the teleportation, but Howard will not be able to get home. It's either about Howard potentially getting home and the destruction of Earth as we know it.
Yeah, not a hard decision.
That's what it takes to be a superhero.
Oh god, here they come.
Also,
those are clearly fireworks, but okay.
Also, can't we just rebuild the thing? Just throwing it out there.
It's too dangerous, Theo.
Oh, I know what's the answer. Jimmy Carter will cut the funds to the experiment.
Wait a minute, now that I think about it, couldn't they have just turned the laser off rather than needing to destroy
Apparently
it?
they couldn't.
Alas. Oh no, Howard might be dead in this movie called Howard the Duck, which is based off of a comic book character.
Oh, it's even better. The movie's about to pull a prank on you.
Do we smell roast duck anyway?
Love how serious the music is.
Again, this
you missed
understand the tone.
Oh, Jova brought that up earlier, but during a lot of the chase sequence, the music was so whimsical.
Okay, even if Death of Superman hadn't already set the standards for superhero comic book deaths, it's Howard the Duck. And look, I'll give him credit. The actors are taking this seriously, but
Hold on.
Isn't this one of those cases where maybe it's a wasted effort? Oh. Oh no!
He's piss taking.
Ha ha ha. We're all going to get arrested by the police. Or maybe not, because we jump cut and,
Yes,
problem solved, I guess.
And since this is the 80s, the epilogue needs to be a concert, of course.
I guess I'll give it credit. It's still better than the Gem and the Holograms movie.
I will also say, Beverly's actress, Leah Thompson, she's actually a pretty good singer. Which also leads me once again back to the Razzies and being baffled by that this fan song, Howard the Duck, was nominated for Worst Original Song.
Oh, come on. That is jive.
Oh,
Okay,
it
I had
gets better, Jova.
Like that's a problem this movie does not have.
It gets better, Jova. The fact that the song still lost, and the one that won that year, the Razzies, was Love or Money, written by Prince of the Revolution for Under the Cherry Moon. Like, Under the Cherry Moon is all a problem, but you nominate a song from Prince, of all fucking people, for Worst Original Song of the Year. What is
no,
wrong
just
with
no. I think one of the few times the Razzies got something right was when they gave Jack and Jill all those Razzies. Mind you, they were reaching with some of them, but Jack and Jill is legit a movie that bad. I think the only one that didn't work was giving Worst Supporting Actor to Al Pacino. Like, nah, you were just taking the piss there.
Also, in another display of tastelessness, the Razzies had the category Worst New Star because, like I said, they would really love to bully emerging actors and actresses. And the candidates were Brian Thompson in Cobra, Christine Scott Thomas in Under the Cherry Moon, Mitch Gaylord, yes, that's his name, for American Anthem, John Chen in Taipan, and the one that won for this movie, the 6 guys and gals in the duck suite for this movie.
Oh, come
No,
on. Also,
That's just mean.
Oh.
Also, the main actor was Ed Gale. At least give him that respect. And yes, I do get it. There were other actors in the suit, but as far as I can tell, Ed Gale is regarded as, like, the character. You will believe a duck can rock.
Dova, ducks rock.
And yes, thank you, Tim Curry. And yeah, now I guess everyone loves Howard the Duck because he saved the world. You see, people, the lesson is everyone will hate you, want to fricassee and eat you until you save the world. Then they'll love you.
At least I'm glad they don't end on a freeze frame.
Not your cup of tea, I presume?
A bit cliched. Remember, that's how Neverending Story 3 ended.
Oh, God, that's right.
I will say a lack of 80s sweaters in this movie.
Yeah, we get
Guess
the
they had to
haircut.
show some restraint somewhere.
They get
Although
the
maybe it
haircut.
takes place
No.
during the...
They get the haircut, but not the costumes all the time. Beverly's
I guess-
rocker outfit definitely fits the 80s, but not the sweaters, like Sherry said.
Is this everyone cheering that the movie's production is over now?
Oh, and now, like, it goes from, oh, she's dating a duck to, oh, the duck is now her manager. This relationship is so weird.
Yeah.
To be fair,
I'm sure
him being
they'll
the
be fine.
manager was her idea, so
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe she's directing the manager behind the scenes, if you know what I mean.
Sure.
Yes.
In the meantime, final thoughts. Jova.
Oh boy, this movie's a mess. I will say this. It had been a while since I last saw this movie, so I kind of thought maybe I'd come back and find out it was better than I remembered it. That is half true, half untrue. The first half I do think is actually not bad for a blueprint on how to adapt Howard the Duck to live action. It gets the overall idea with the series, essentially. Howard is a duck displaced among our world and has to try and make ends meet, while also doubling as a superhero and hanging out with Beverly, essentially. No, I think the problem is when the movie tries to actually start to be more like a superhero film. Ergo, bring in an antagonist. And do they pick any of the many, many, many characters that Howard at that point had come to face wits with, or even the main villain from his comic? Nope. A generic overlord, which, okay, to be fair, the design is cool of a dark overlord.
Which is a
And
good point for me to reconvene to the comic book adaptation, because in that one, for some reason, maybe they did not have photographs of how the Dark Overlord puppet was supposed to look like. The form that the Dark Overlord takes is a monstrous duck, as a parallel to Howard to an extent, I guess.
so wait. So the comic book adaptation of the movie itself even went, you know what, this is dumb. Let's actually try and do something more interesting.
Like I said, this is nothing new, because in the process of making a comic book adaptation of a movie, the people who make the comic do not have access to all of the material tied to the movie, and they have to release it in time. This is especially notable with the Star Wars original trilogy adaptations, where Yoda constantly changes size, for an example.
And where Darth Vader had a green suit. It could also be a case like the Batman 89 comic where they were taking cues from like a deleted script and deleted scenes and whatnot. Which, okay, I'll be honest, if a Dark Overlord was an evil version of Howard the Duck, I could have seen that being more interesting, or, you know, something where we could play off more the comedy for the final battle. Whereas the final battle is just Howard basically driving around in a little truck with a BFG attached to it, which should be cool, but it's kind of just so-and-so. Oh, fun fact also, Ed Gale, who, you know, had been hired to work on Spaceballs because Mel Brooks had requisitioned him. Get this, before doing this, Ed Gale did have a performance as Chucky from the Child's Play series, so dude knew his craft, I guess. Credit to everyone who came together to bring Howard the Duck to life. I do think he's the best aspect of this movie, which one would think, hey, that's it, movie saved, right? Well, no. Like I said, the first half seems like it's more or less got an idea here and there. Some very weird sexual overcharges here and there, but to be fair, that's standard for Howard the Duck. It's just shocking that they put this in a PG movie. The problem, I feel, comes to when we actually have to try and have a conflict with a villain, in which case, yeah, they certainly came up with something. I think they still to this day did not know what that was. And the tone gets all over the place. Like, the music was already weird with how epic it could get for something as simple as a street fight or a bar fight with Howard the Duck, but then we get to the weird bits where we have whimsy uplifting music when the Dark Lord is getting more powerful, weird music for the car and airplane chase sequences, but then we have comedic tunes in places that don't seem fitting either. It's like the movie's supposed to have established an overall darker tone, but it feels like it's lost the plot, and then it just kind of starts spinning its wheels. And again, it's a nice design for the monster, but the final fight just does not feel that exciting as it should be for a Howard the Duck movie. Which, limitations of live action aside, I feel like if we'd had something, again, like the evil cartoon duck that Howard has to face, that could have been more interesting. Also, thank you for informing me that a comic book adaptation of this movie actually exists. I legit did not know until today.
Good, like I said, it's 3 issues, so it's not too long, but it's not particularly good. The scans are not even in good quality. So
I guess if I can give this movie one credit, future Nirvana and Foo Fighters guitarist Pat Smear appeared as an extra in this movie.
It's time also to mention the last bit of trivia that I wanted to mention outside of the Razzies. Well, yeah, might as well also mention this. The other major, Razzie Award that is won was, of course, Worst Picture, which was a tie with the aforementioned Under the Cherry Moon. Now, Smeghead of Cinematic Excrement analyzed both movies and concluded that he thinks only Under the Cherry Moon should have won, because while this movie, Howard the Duck, is stupid, Under the Cherry Moon is a glorified vanity project for Prince that feels too pretentious and meanders too much, and I had to agree on that. Like, I have a deep respect for Prince, in general, but Under the Cherry Moon really is a slog of a movie, especially compared to this. Here's the other bit of trivia. Because of this movie bombing, George Lucas had to sell some assets to once again found Skywalker Ranch. One of them was a little studio that was specializing in computer-generated animation and the tutelage of Industrial Light and Magic, and a good friend of George Lucas called Steve Jobs decided to actually buy them for a decent price. That studio, handled by John Lasseter, is what eventually became Pixar. So this movie is inadvertently responsible for the creation of Pixar as we know today.
Wow, look at that! This movie did something right. Also, apparently Leah Thompson has confirmed that she kept the guitar from the film and sometimes plays it. So.
I mean, why not?
Cool.
Yeah,
and yes, she did legit do the singing for all the songs of her character's band. Good for her, honestly. At the end of the day, I don't think this movie is a complete train wreck. I feel like maybe they could have done something with it. At the same time, though, this is one of those cases where I can't blame the studios for putting the brakes on franchising this, because not only was this a box office bomb, like, it apparently only made $0.9 million more than the budget could have been, but it's just... They did not have a clear idea of what they were doing, I think. At the very least, if they did have a clear idea, it shows in the first half, but they lost it in the second half. Like, I wouldn't call this an outright bad film. I'd say you can get your enjoyment out of, it being somewhat comic book opera to Howard the Duck. The problem is that by the second half, though, the conflict does not really feel that interesting. Oh, don't get me wrong, it's over the top. It's goofy. It's stupid. But outside of that stuff, it's not really interesting. The best you get is the police chase with Howard trying to fly a small mini plane. But other than that, I feel like the kind of final conflict is relatively boring, which, yeah, I'm sorry, that's a bit of a problem. Like, the Super Mario Brothers movie of 93 keeps me more interested because what I feel it does is interesting enough. Obviously, that film's problem is that it really did not respect the source material, albeit what little there was, but still, as much as it could have, but at least that thing kept things interesting. This one feels like it can get away with just being strange and weird, but again, once you get past the stuff to riff on, what you have is a relatively boring climax, and I feel that's kind of going to be box office poison for a comic book movie, let alone a Marvel superhero film, essentially. Part of me does like to imagine, though, can you imagine a Marvel Cinematic Universe starting with this, then the 90s Captain America film, essentially. And Blade.
Beautiful.
Like, something, I guess, could have maybe erupted there? And who knows?
Remember, the MCU did manage to turn Iron Man from a relatively, still fairly known, but considered B/C tier list, superior to the big public, to literally, the flagship icon of the franchise.
Oh, yeah.
I was really surprised when I found out he wasn't already.
Oh, sure. Allow me to blow your mind again. The Avengers were like a C-list group back in the day before the movies,
the X-Men were all
and they chose to start with them. That's brave.
That's because Marvel Studios at that point did not have the right to the mutants because 20th Century Fox had them, so they were trying to do something else.
Let me put it like this, right? Starting with Avengers as the group was both a gamble, but also not so much a gamble, because like me and you have mentioned, the Avengers are basically a group where you can put just about any Marvel superhero on. Almost every Marvel superhero with a name has been on the Avengers, or Avengers West Coast, or Avengers East, or... God, I think there was even an Avengers Europe at some point. Like, the point is, Avengers is kind of like Marvel's equivalent to, like, Justice League or whatnot. You will get enough groups that you can put on there. But the Avengers, as they were most recognized, were C-list, essentially. Solo titles were doing better than Avengers. thanks to the MCU now, the Avengers are a household name that so many people now chase after, essentially. Which brings me back to this film. Had this movie worked, Howard could have been that hero. I don't know if he'd like be dethroning Spider-Man as like the mascot and most popular of Marvel, but no, like Howard could have been a true beacon of popularity if this movie had succeeded. But it failed. And unfortunately, I can't really defend it that much, which is a shame because I love that it gets the comic book feel of the character right for the most part. But when it comes to, a crucial aspect of the comic book film, that being the conflict, the villain, or shoot, the point of even having a plot in the second half, no, this movie failed, and sadly, I get why it failed. I'm sure everyone who worked on it hard, but unfortunately, them's the breaks.
Alright, Sherry, what about you?
I also wouldn't say it's a train wreck, but it's still messy. The first half was pretty decent. Not really my thing, but it was fine. But the more it went on, the more all over the place it got. I'd say the halfway point is a bit generous. More like third in, it started to get weird for me. The tone is all over the place with like the music. The acting isn't really an issue. You get the odd lines that have been pointed out already. But yeah, that's not really an issue there. Neither is the music, so that was a weird thing for the Razzies, I guess. Although from what I understand, what they consider bad is sometimes really questionable anyway.
Sometimes they just love to take the piece out of something because it's like the cool thing to do for them. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hardy har.
I think that's it from me for this. This was interesting.
Yeah,
Joy,
that's the
you've
best
now
way to,
gone through the rite of passage of seeing the movie for kids that showed a duck's bare breasts.
What an honor.
Thank you, I guess.
But I think that's the best way to describe this movie. An interesting experiment. To me, as the others mentioned, it's not as much also a train wreck as everyone, back in the day thought it would be. But I wouldn't call it a good movie overall. The second half is definitely what kills it, but I do like the idea behind it. Now, the real problems to me are the pace, which is too slow, especially for a lot of places. This is a story that could have been told in 90 minutes, and instead chose to be almost 120. And the tonal shift of the score. This movie really wants to capture the whole grimy aesthetic of the comic, where Howard is just thrown into one bizarre situation after the other, and having to deal with a lot of xenophobia towards him, and distrust.
As Marvel citizens, yeah.
Well, again, the fact that he's literally an anthropomorphic duck. But at the same time, it wants to have a very whimsical moment, and even tries to play up the relationship he has with Beverly in a more gentle way. And Howard himself is not as crass as in the comics. Like, sometimes he really gets nasty in actually insulting people. But again, these two things do not coalesce very well, and the end result is just a mess. But for the first half, it worked fine enough. It really feels like the writing team was split into what story they wanted to write, and when it came to the second half, someone really took control over it, which is a kind of a shame. And again, using just this Dark Overlord as the villain might have been a good idea, but they could have just used any of the Marvel cosmic entities as replacement of that. Again, like the Dweller in the Dark, for example, the one that eventually used for Shang-Chi. But aside from that, I really still appreciated the special effects, and to an extent the songs. Not the score as a whole, but the songs are fine. But that's kinda it technically. So after this, Howard was considered basically poison, almost radioactive. Marvel did not want to have a run with him at all. There were occasional mentioning of the character here or there, and single issues like Revival or special annuals that talked about it, but a mainline run, not really. At best, Howard would appear in other stories just to continue his own story, but did not really had something that could be considered a solo run again for a very long time. This was reflected in promotional material. According to interviews that Capcom had, Howard was supposed to be chosen as a playable character for the first Marvel vs. Capcom, believe it or not, but Marvel actually vetoed that, and I am so fucking
All
mad about
because
it.
of a movie? Come on,
Cowards.
Marvel! Yes,
Actually,
cowards.
cowards.
I still am mad. It's ironic because during the development of Marvel vs. Capcom 3, I really wanted to have Howard playable. These days, thankfully, Marvel has mellowed out because, for example, in Contest of Champions, he showed up, in Avengers Alliance, RIP, he did show up, and even Marvel Token has at least him appearing in stickers. But that was because of for a different reason. See, one of the other things that happened in Marvel vs. Capcom 3's development is that for the Ultimate Edition, they had one of the new characters being another anthropomorphic animal, one that at the time people really did not know about and thought, why the fuck are you including that? That character was Rocket Raccoon. And in just a few years, people turned around very quickly on that character, where another movie, which also accidentally served as a promotion device for Howard to an extent, was released to the general public. That movie turned out to be Guardians of the Galaxy. So when we'll get back to that, we will see just how Howard actually factors into that. Don't expect any great things, but rest assured that James Gunn decided to actually give the Duck another chance, and it did work for the most part.
And all that will be left to see is if the upcoming Avengers duology of Doomsday and Secret Wars actually retroactively makes this movie an MCU commentary.
I mean, it could be potentially. Marvel Database has an entire code for this reality as per protocol. It's called Earth 58472. That's the official nomenclature, but we'll have to see. For the time being, we'll see, again, like I said, we'll see Howard back when we get to Guardians of the Galaxy. So see you for that.
See ya.